Hello, LegalShield family. This is JuJuan Buford recording out of the Detroit metropolitan area. Definitely excited and enthusiastic about the opportunity to share some information with individuals who I know have been inquiring quite a bit about cold calling and working more frequently within the B2B market. And so I put together this brief recording, not to be the end-all training, but at least to offer a little bit of insight and to point associates and colleagues within the right direction. So the first thing I want to share is when you are cold calling, working in the B2B market, the primary reason why you want to be involved in this type of activity is going to be because you are looking to break into a new market or industry. Perhaps you don't have a relationship there, perhaps you don't have a lot of experience, but it's an industry or market and you haven't had the opportunity to quite maybe attend a networking event, or you don't have anyone in your circle that can give you an invitation to an individual that's working in a particular industry. However, before you start, I want to remind you that, look, if you are cold calling on a consistent basis, if this is your primary means of marketing, my business mentors have always taught me that if you're cold calling, it's your punishment for not asking for referrals. In other words, you do not want to make this your primary and keep this as your primary means of marketing. It's your punishment for not asking for referrals. Cold calling is probably the least effective means to break into a market nowadays. There are far better ways to do so, particularly given access to the internet and all the online resources that can be made available to you to meet individuals and at least create more of a lukewarm opportunity. So I want to say that first and foremost. Secondly, if this is your first time cold calling, I imagine that you are probably very much excited to hear what the script is, to know what verbiage, what's the secret sauce or the language you're going to utilize to slay elephants, right? To land some of the biggest accounts of your life and have tremendous success doing so. Well, I'm going to tell you once again something that you may not want to hear, but it's necessary that you do hear this, and that is while the script is important, it is not the most important factor. It's not going to determine ultimately at the end of the day whether or not you're going to have success making cold calls. The most important factor in cold calling is just understanding one simple thing, and that is that it's a numbers game. That's what it is. At the end of the day, it's a numbers game. Scripts don't work. You have to work the script. So it doesn't matter what verbiage I share with you. It doesn't matter what script you acquire online. It doesn't matter what diction or book that you've read. At the end of the day, cold calling is a numbers game. And you need to understand that the attitude comes before the altitude. And we'll get back into that in a moment. That's probably the most second important factor. You need to make sure you're in a good place and you have a good attitude when you are involved in cold calling. So the other thing, of course, is know your value proposition, know your product, and know how to present it as a solution. If you don't have a good value proposition pitch, look, cold calling can become a very uncomfortable and be transparent and become very much a time waster, if you will, right? So here's the thing. I need you to write down the following numbers: 100, 30, 10, 3, and 1. 100, 30, 10, 3, and 1. 100 dials, 30 appointments, or 30 contacts, I should say, 10 appointments, 3 that stick, and 1 client. 100 dials, 30 appointments, 30 contacts, 10 appointments, 3 that stick, and 1 client. Why are these numbers relevant? Because at the end of the day, this is the formula. You're going to make approximately 100 dials if you're cold calling. You must at minimum make 100 dials for this process to work. Just being transparent with you, right? You need to be making at least 100 dials if you're going to cold call starting out. And understand that you're going to be calling business owners or professionals or companies, and know that the individuals whom you want to speak with are not always going to be available, right? Over the course of time, there are adaptations and adjustments that need to be made. You need to make sure you're calling at the right time. You need to make sure you're asking for the right individuals. You're going to be calling phone numbers, and the numbers are going to be disconnected. You're going to be calling phone numbers, and those numbers are no longer going to be an accurate means in which to contact individuals. It just is what it is. You need to be acutely aware of that. So that's what's happening. So you're making 100 dials. You're going to end, and also individuals may not be available. They may already be in a meeting. They may already be at an appointment. It just is what it is. So you're going to make 100 dials. You're going to, on average, contact 30 individuals. Those 30 individuals, assuming you have a good pitch and they're at a right place where they're willing to listen and learn what you have to say, you may end up setting 10 appointments. And over the course of a week, appointments get rescheduled. Life happens. Life may happen on your side of the table. So you have a situation where approximately 3 of them stick. And you, out of 3 individuals, if you're closing at between 25 and 30%, you're going to pick up 1 client. 100, 30, 10, 3, and 1. Now look, are these numbers static? Of course not, right? They're not static. But this is about approximately how it goes. I don't care if you're marketing toothpicks, toilet tissue, if you're selling cars, IT services, it doesn't matter. This is the process if you're going to be cold calling. So you need to be just acutely aware of that. Now, how can these numbers change? Why are these numbers not static? Because over the course of time, as you become more experienced, you know when to call your prospects. You know when's the opportune time to reach them, especially given their industry. As you understand that process and get better at it, when you call up individuals, you're going to contact more individuals. You can improve your pitch or the manner in which you communicate the value proposition to these individuals whom you're speaking with, so they'll increase the likelihood of you scheduling an appointment. You'll become better at setting and following up in terms of making sure that appointments stick. And your closing ratio may change, but only a little bit, and it will be incremental. The bottom line is, if you are closing at a 33% clip, you are incredible. You're fantastic. You are like well on your way to become a zillionaire. The reality of the matter is most individuals close at about a 25 to 15% clip. If you're knocking on 30%, you're doing exceptionally well. Ultimately, that's the goal. But understand, you're not going to start cold calling in 1 week and then these variations, these changes transpire. It's very much an adaptive approach to marketing. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be in it for the long haul, right? So if you're only making $20 a week and at the end of the month you're frustrated because the ratios haven't played out and you haven't been tracking your activity, well, you get back what you put in when it comes to cold calling. And once again, I want to remind individuals, it's not to dissuade you, but it's just to be consistent with this. If you are cold calling, this is your primary means of marketing, this is your punishment for not asking for referrals. So we're going to come back to that in a moment. The other reason why it takes a little while to become better at it is because of you're getting better also at anticipating objections and learning what those objections are and preparing yourself as to how to respond to those objectives. Okay, so we've covered that piece, right? The mindset you need to have going into cold calling. The second thing you need to understand is you need to have a big list. A big list, not 50, not 100, not 200. You need to start with a list of at least 500 individuals, or know that you need to at least go out there and acquire and build a list of a minimum 500 individuals. When I say individuals, I'm talking about individual companies, corporations, professionals, whatever the case may be. How do you do it? Warm market. You can approach family members, friends, individuals whom you've known and you're coming and passing. And you can call them up and say, look, you know, you're very successful as an attorney. You're very successful as a doctor. You're very successful as the owner of an IT company. You are very successful in any industry, right? As a carpenter, owner of a collision shop. And if you have a relationship with them, you say, look, I need your help. I'm just getting involved in this business endeavor. And before I jump into 2 feet first, I respect you and I want to work with individuals like you. And if you could give me 10, 15 minutes simply to share with you exactly what it is that I'm doing, look, you may or may not be interested. That's okay. But if you could give me your feedback and just let me know what you think about it, I'd be so appreciative. And look, the bottom line is most successful individuals are open-minded and they want to help other individuals have success. So as long as they feel like you're not coming in to pitch them directly and to close them on a product or service, they're going to be inclined to perhaps help you out, right? So it would go a little something like this. I would call up Tom. I'd say, hey, Tom, this is JuJuan calling. Look, I know you're busy. I am too. I'm just made an investment in a LegalShield franchise and I'm so excited about it. But I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and that this is something that can really help me take care of my family and meet my financial and professional goals. You're very successful. You've owned your own clinic for a number of years, and quite frankly, you're the type of professional, you're the type of business owner I'd like to work with. I want to work with individuals like you. I'd be so appreciative if you give me 10, 15 minutes where I can sit down with you and just share what it is that we do. And give me your feedback as whether or not you think professionals in your industry, in your profession, would really find this worthwhile. And that's the approach you want to take, right? Fill in the blanks. You want to do that. You want to ask for referrals once you've shared the information, and I'll come back around to that. But that is the goal, right? To build your list. And if the individual whom you're sitting in front of has a genuine interest and they want to acquire the services, even better, right? But you go in with the goal of I'm going to share information about what it is that I'm currently involved in, and you're going to ask for referrals, right? Because people tend to refer sideline, downline. Very rarely do people refer up, but there's a way to take care of that. We'll come back to that in the training. Acquire business cards. When I first started out as a professional in the investment advising industry and then as a franchise owner with LegalShield, I frequented coffee shops often, and whenever there was a business cards laying around somewhere, I made it my business to acquire them, right? Because I was building my list. Hold fishbowl luncheons. The individuals will utilize that strategy. What does that mean? Ask a business owner, look, can I place a fishbowl here where business owners can place their cards in the bowl, and every single week I'll pull from the bowl and lunch is on me. Right, at that establishment, right? You have magazines where business owners are publishing their open houses when they're relaunching. Magazines will give you information about the business owner in terms of their own personal or business proclivities that you typically wouldn't find online or like reading a description in a listing, right? The yellow pages, look, it is what it is. Newspapers, ideally, you want to utilize resources that will allow you to acquire as much information as possible, right? Facebook, LinkedIn, you'd be surprised how much information business owners post about their hobbies, their interests, and some of their business dealings. The more that you can learn, go in, the better off you're going to be. So I'll pull names from any resources available because you're constantly looking to build the list. That's where you're spending the majority of your time when you're cold calling. You're building a list. So you have new individuals to talk to all the time. Drops. Literally dropping in on business owners. And we'll come back to that at another training. But yes, that is an effective means to meet someone belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball. Just understand that when you're conducting drops of business owners, you're not walking in to sell them on anything. Keep in mind, you're walking into their space, they're conducting business, their primary goal is to meet clients and customers, not individuals marketing services or products. Your goal is simply to shake their hand, introduce yourself, acquire permission to give them a phone call at another time, right? And we'll come back to that. Watering holes, business incubators, networking events, other organizations that have professional meetings where individuals can come together and congregate and exchange ideals and contacts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? There's a multitude of these type of organizations. I'm not going to spend all day long enumerating them all, but no, these are approaches that you have to take. Social media. Of course, you do not jump on social media and say, hey, come buy my stuff, and spam everyone on their Facebook pages and their LinkedIn pages and their Twitter pages and their Instagram pages. That is a good way to make sure that you will never be able to market on social media again. So there's an approach to do that. That's another training though. But look, utilize whatever resources you can to simply acquire a list of names to call. Particularly as it relates to small business owners and companies. So, but understand this, you must constantly grow your list. And you must look for the opportunity to require referrals. You're going to hear this time and time again. You're going to need referrals. It is a tough road to go. With technology today, the way individuals screen calls, the fact that quite